A is nutrition and B is excretion. So we are starting with this chapter of nutrition. So all organisms require energy. And why do they require energy? Because they need it to complete all their life processes. That means physiology. And for all activities, such as they might need this for respiration, they will need this for locomotion, they will need this for excretion, they will need this for, most importantly, reproduction, so that by reproduction the next generation will be born. So there is a birth of next generation of the same type of organism, and therefore the cycle will continue. That means every time when the organism, right from its birth to its death, requires energy, and this energy is supplied by food. So it's very important to find out and learn something about the food and how it gets inside. And this deals with nutrition in animals. Now, since we are talking about animals, by definition, animals, classical definition, by definition, animals are multicellular as well as heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means they depend on other organisms for their food, as opposed to plants which are autotrophic. So one of the modes of nutrition is autotrophic, another mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. So autotrophs mostly deal with plants and microorganisms, some groups of microorganisms. Here some of them can be photoautotrophs and some of them can be chemoautotrophs, but that is about plants. But in any case, type of nutrition, one autotrophic, second one mainly heterotrophic. In heterotrophic, one type of nutrition which many animals have is called holozoic. Okay. So in this holozoic method of nutrition, the animals will have to somehow or the other find food and take it inside. This is called as ingestion of food. After ingestion of food, they will have to digest this food chemically using enzymes. After this is digested, they have to absorb whatever are the important nutrients that they need, and this has to be utilized by the cells to obtain energy. We call this as assimilation. Whatever food is not being digested, that has to be thrown away. So whatever is the undigested food, that will be ingested outside or thrown outside. So the steps are taking in the food, which is called ingestion, digesting the food by using enzymes and by mechanical means, absorbing this food, which means to take it into all the cells, and then inside the cell, chemical or different types of biochemical equations, reactions that take place, essentially glycolysis and Krebs cycle, so that the food is then absorbed and energy or ATP is obtained. That's called assimilation. And then whatever is not required is called digestion. So all these steps are seen in Holozoic mode of nutrition. So some of the animals which show Holozoic mode of nutrition, they can get their nutrition either from eating only plants, so we call them as herbivores. Some of them can eat only animals, so they are called as carnivores, and some can eat all or both, so we call them as omnivores. So the other word to write this is herbivorous animals, carnivorous animals, and omnivorous animals. These are the types of the animals, same. So this is Holozoic mode of nutrition, which comes under heterotrophs. Of course, there can be some animals which are sapro, or some organisms which are saprobiotic. That means feeding on dead matter, like a fungus which is growing on a plant which is dead. So that is saprobiotic, or sometimes written as saprotrophic. That is also same word, saprobiotic or saprotrophic. Some can be parasitic. That means depending upon other organisms. So these are the different modes of nutrition: autotrophic, heterotrophic, saprobiotic or saprotrophic, parasitic. Okay, you can add also many others, but this would cover the entire gamut of the different types of nutrition. So we can see that nutrition is so important for organisms, and any animal that you see, the first question that we must ask is, how does it obtain its food? This is an important question while trying to study animals. Okay. So let's get started with the first example over here, which is of amoeba. And I will then tell you what is interesting about amoeba and the other animals. So we know that amoeba is a very small, microscopic, it is aquatic organism. That means it is found in all types of waters, fresh water also, marine water also, that is sea water. Usually this is the easiest type of organism to draw, something like that, with pseudopodia over here, nucleus. Now you can see over here, and then try to wonder how it is trying to take food. Does it have any particular alimentary canal? Does it have a stomach? Does it have an intestine? No, it doesn't have any of these. It doesn't have a stomach. It doesn't have a particular opening called as mouth. It doesn't have any particular opening called as anus. That means it doesn't have a digestive or an alimentary canal that we know of, just as we have in a human being or in a bird. It doesn't have it like that. So this type of alimentary canal is referred to as animals without alimentary canal. There will be some, like Hydra or like Planaria, that have an incomplete alimentary canal. And the large majority of organisms that have a complete alimentary canal. Okay. So we were talking about amoeba, and amoeba is an example of organism without alimentary canal. Many protozoans are of this kind. Many protozoans are of this kind. So amoeba is one of the examples. So what does it do? Suppose there is some food particle over here. Then the pseudopodia is slightly extended. So this is the food particle and the pseudopodia is extended now. And it is going for the kill. This is the food particle. Now the question is, how does it know? It knows because on this cell membrane, on the membrane, there are different types of receptors. These are receptors which we can generally call as chemical receptors. They are very sensitive to presence of different types of chemicals, and every food particle has a different type of a reaction for the receptors. If there is a poisonous substance, it is reacting differently with the receptor. So they don't want to interact with toxins and poisons, but they want to interact with food because they know it. This is how, when we use the word they know it because of receptors. That's not any miracle. So receptors are present on the membrane. Okay. And with the help of these receptors, a pseudopodia is formed. And after some time, the same thing. See, the pseudopodia now will cover it up completely. So at this point you can see that there is one membrane here and another membrane over here. They are coming very close to each other. So now very quickly what will happen is that this outer membrane has broken off and has become common, joined the other part. Similarly over here another circular membrane has been formed inside. And nucleus, which I have shown over here, nucleus over here, nucleus over here, and nucleus over here. So this food molecule which was over here has now been engulfed or taken into by this particular amoeba. This is the same mechanism whereby a large macrophage inside our body engulfs bacteria, engulfs other pathogens. So the process is the same, and this process is called as phagocytosis. Sometimes this organism is trying to run away, so it is going to chase it and then capture it. Sometimes this may be just an organic particle. It is not running away or chasing away. Therefore, the way in which this pseudopodia is formed is slightly different, and different terms are given for this, but we need not bother much about those terms. Like for example, circumvallation and circumfluence. You can take that as an assignment and find out what they mean, whether there is much of a difference. But the important thing to understand is how this is taking place. So we said that membranes contain different types of receptors. Receptors are nothing but specialized types of proteins which are there on the membrane. And these, in the course of evolution, this is the gift for every organism. Every cell has got different types of receptors, which is interacting with what is there on the outer environment. And it is able to find out that this is food, and it grabs the food by going all around it, and then beautifully you can see that this is getting pinched off over here, and this is getting opened up and resealed. So this outer membrane joins with this outer membrane, and this inner one has joined with this inner one, and therefore so this is one vacuole inside the cell. This is a miraculous step which is actually taking place. So what is formed over here is called as a food vacuole. Now in this amoeba there will be lysozymes are there. Lysozymes are chemical factories that produce different types of enzymes, and those enzymes are poured inside over here into this food vacuole. So once it is taken into the food vacuole, we can also call this as heterophagosome. What is heterophagosome? The same thing, a food vacuole is called as heterophagosome, because lysosome has put its enzymes into it, and now the lysosome will digest it. So it will start slowly shrinking, and after some time, so if this is amoeba, after some time very small part may be left behind, and that will be again by the same reverse manner. From here it will go over here, and it will eliminate in the reverse manner. So although we are dealing with phagocytosis as a process in amoeba, remember even in human beings, any large macrophage monocyte which converts into a macrophage is doing the same process of becoming something like a crow inside the body, removing out garbage. Very important. But we are dealing with amoeba as an example to study type of nutrition. Okay. So the molecules are very small, and this is how it is able to feed. And remember that we are giving this as an example of animals without alimentary canal. So this is the first topic. What we have done over here: introduction to nutrition, types of nutrition, and because this topic is small, I have dealt with the example of amoeba as a kind of organism without alimentary canal in this topic itself. So that is what is about amoeba. Thank you, and this is Professor Ravindranath signing off.